Welcome to the Good Life, Great Careers podcast. My name is Brian Savick, and I am the Director of Workforce Training and Development. And with me again today is my co-host, Caitlin Betts, who is the Director of Talent Acquisition for the state of Nebraska. We're excited that you're joining us again with our podcast. If you haven't listened before, the goal of this podcast is to help evangelize all of the many opportunities all throughout state government for starting and building a career. The state of Nebraska is the largest, most diverse employer in the state of Nebraska. And so we just want to shine a spotlight on different teammates and their careers and all of the great opportunities that are within state government and within their agencies. Our guest today is someone who I'm really excited about that's joining us. We've been trying to get him on for a while, been difficult coordinating some of the schedules. But joining us today is Chuck Chase. Chuck Chase is a outreach coordinator with the Department of Natural Resources. Chuck has been in his current position for 8 years, and I think with the state a total of 10 years. Is that correct?
A little more than 10 years. I haven't counted.
10 plus years.
Yeah, 10 plus years.
And I go way back with Chuck. So I can honestly say he is one of the most interesting and genuinely nice guys that I've ever met, that you'll ever meet. It's just interesting and just very nice.
There you go.
And so I'm excited to have him as a guest on our show today. So Chuck, thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to just take a little bit of time and talk with us and share your experience with our listeners. So let's start off by just handing it over to you. Share with us a little bit about yourself and about your career journey.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I graduated here in Nebraska from Peru State College, got a couple of degrees, one in mathematics and one in education. I think they said that I was the last one to graduate from Peru State College that got certified to teach both elementary and secondary education. I tried to complete both fields. I was kind of shooting for junior high, middle school. So did teaching for a while. I really enjoyed teaching, but I was very bad at classroom discipline. And you can't be a good teacher if you can't control your class. So I got out of that for a while. But that's one of the things that I kind of enjoy about what I do now is I do a lot of education, but education with adults is so much easier because nobody comes to my class unless they want to be there. And so I don't really have to try and deal with kids that would just as soon be somewhere else, or whatever, or high school kids that would just as soon be somewhere else. And so that's just a joy to just be able to teach and have people, hungering for what it is that you're trying to get across to them.
So what is it that you are teaching adults right now?
Oh, very good. Yeah. Well, I guess with my career path, I got a job here in Lincoln working with the Nebraska Emergency Management Agency as a training and exercise officer. So going around and doing training. And then I moved from there into my position now with Department of Natural Resources. Kind of similar in that I'm teaching adults about FEMA regulations that they struggle with. Right now what I'm doing is floodplain management. In each community, whether it's a county or a small village or Omaha, Lincoln, manages development that's in the floodplain. And they do it by their local ordinance, but their local ordinance has to line up with state's minimum standards, which also have to line up with FEMA's code of regulations. And a lot of times, especially in small towns, they just can't understand the complexity of FEMA regulations or code of federal regulations. And so it's kind of a joy because that's, being a math teacher, that's what I really enjoy doing, is taking things that are complex and breaking them down into something that someone can understand at a very basic level. And so I really enjoy it. I feel like I'm good at it, to be able to take those complex things and making it something that a local can understand. So working with small villages, counties, things, it's great to see that light go off. See it when they finally, I get it, it's joy.
I'm going to take a step back. So you're talking
Good.
about floodplains
Yes.
and the permitting.
Yeah.
So is what you're trying to teach these individuals about like what is allowed
Yes.
for floodplains and what they can do and how they get the permits, or what is that like?
Right. Exactly. I mean, let's think about someone wants to build a house and they want to do it somewhere in the neighborhood of the river. The river is beautiful, and so they want to do it. So if it's within the floodplain, and most likely it would be, then the local official has to be able to know how high to make them build their lowest floor. And in Nebraska, they have to build their lowest floor so it's a foot higher than whatever the base flood elevation is, the elevation of the flood waters. Well, we all know Mother Nature floods as much as she wants to. So they base that off of what would be a 1 out of 100 chance flood. And so the engineers in our office calculate all of that. They look at the storm waters, runoff, melt off, what that event would be and how much water would make it to the stream. And then with that, they create maps identifying the floodplain. And in many cases, they'll go ahead and they'll put that elevation right on the map. And so then if a builder wants to come on in, then this administrator, who's oftentimes the village clerk, or sometimes it's the county zoning zoning administrator, they would go on ahead and make sure that whatever buildings are being built, their lowest floor is a foot higher than what that elevation was. And there's other things they have, it gets more complicated. There are other things that they're looking at. If they build this house, how is it going to affect houses around it? Is it going to take up take up space in that floodplain and cause the waters to rise then even more and maybe flood someone's house that's not in the floodplain? They're going to look at, is it going to cause problems with the community's infrastructure? Maybe there's a bridge close by. Maybe having this construction might do damage to the bridge. So there's all sorts of things dealing with that. And of course, that's with new construction. Most of these communities that call me, and it's not about new construction. It's about a house that's already there, and now they want to build an addition on. So does the addition have to be elevated so much higher than the original house? The original house has a basement, And so, what's allowed, what's not allowed. And it can just get complicated. It'd be a lot easier if it was just all prairie Nebraska and we were just making sure everyone built, hey, this is how you have to build if you're in the floodplain, and that's it. But
so if you could, with that thought, could you share a little bit more about your agency? With natural resources, I'm sure most people probably, you say, oh yeah, the Department of Natural Resources. Oh, I've heard of that. But probably the average person wouldn't know what that agency does.
Right.
And or maybe have a vague idea. But if
natural resources in Nebraska, we often think of the soils. We think of we think of the plant life and nature and the like, and really that's not what our department works with. Our department works with water.
Okay.
It could almost be called the Department of Water. Surface water, groundwater, the interaction between surface and groundwater, and then my little piece of that is dealing with the floodplain and floodplain regulations. And we have a lot of people who are in our department that are focused on making maps, making good maps, so that our state can be more robust, so that communities know where the dangers really are. And then they can focus their attention on that, making sure that development that's done there is done in such a way to protect people's lives, to protect the people's property, and to actually protect their community.
Talked a lot about some of the work that you do that we probably take for granted that your agency does, and but it actually has a huge impact on our state and our own livelihoods. What have you found most rewarding about working for natural resources or in your current role? Yeah,
and this is really good too. One of the things that I really like about working with the state is that I'm not doing this for profit. And so I don't have to look at the bottom line with anything that I do. if someone calls me from a small town and they're concerned because somebody wants to build a garage in the floodplain, I don't have to worry that about the bottom line here. I'm here to help the community, whether the community is big or small, whether it's Omaha or Steel City. I'm here to help, and if it takes a while to work with them on this garage, then that's okay. I'm not a for-profit company. I'm here. I'm actually here to help them, and that's such a joy, because I think that's my desire, is to really help, and it's nice to know that I don't have to worry about whether helping this is financially feasible or not.
I love that. I think it's rewarding being a public servant and doing that work. Also, you get to do really cool things. So.
Oh, yeah. I, that's true too. I guess I never think of doing really cool things. Yeah. I do like to travel, so I do like going on out and meeting these people face to face. I love being able to have a reason to go to Steel City with all of those really cool stone buildings they have, kind of the irony stone that they've got, and seeing that. Be no other reason for me to go down there other than meeting with a floodplain administrator and the like. So seeing Nebraska, seeing all of these small towns and meeting with the people, and of course, like I said, seeing that light go off when you can actually help them, something is as awesome. But I do like to travel. And
I know you have, I know you like to travel just from conversations we've had. And I know you've been to Western Nebraska. Yeah,
I've been in every single street in Western Nebraska.
You've walked every street
in Western Nebraska? I have walked every street in Western Nebraska. Of course, few people listening probably know that Western Nebraska is a small community in south central Nebraska. Probably only has maybe 10 streets, but I've walked every one of them. So, yes.
What advice would you give someone looking to start a career, grow a career with the state?
That's very good. Yeah, I think I've seen people that get a job with the state as a jumping board, whatever, or other jobs, maybe even in the private sector. But I think I've seen more people that come on in working with the state and use it to and find out that they like it, and then look for other jobs within the state. I've seen that a lot more than people getting out of. I think people, once they get a job with the state, see the benefits and they like to stick with it. My advice to somebody would be, find something that you like, get into it, even if it's a temporary position, and then use that to tweak and to find where your actual niche is. And I think that's kind of what I did. I think the training and exercise officer with Nebraska Emergency Management Association was great, but I really feel like where I'm at now is kind of where I was meant to be. So,
if someone's interested in learning more about your agency, how would they go about learning more?
Oh, we have a fantastic website, dnr.nebraska.gov. But don't worry about memorizing that. You can just do a Google search for DNR and then put an NE after it so you don't get Iowa's DNR. And it'll be your first thing that comes up. And there's all sorts of things there talking about the different aspects that the Department of Natural Resources is involved in. And again, it's really all about protecting our resources. And in Nebraska, which literally means land of flat waters, right. Water is the resource that we're really concerned about. We can manage our water. We can do a pretty good job of managing our soil and our plants and everything else, as long as we keep the water clean and good and plentiful.
There we go.
I think unless there's anything you'd like to add, we'll move forward with one little more fun piece and put you on the hot seat.
Okay, I guess I'm ready. All right. Rapid fire.
We will, put you on the hot seat here with some rapid fire questions. Good. If you're ready.
I'm preparing for one right here. Okay. There you go.
Start off with maybe an easy one. Do you have any hobbies?
Oh yeah, I love to travel, and I think that's probably camping is probably my biggest hobby right now. I think we love going places, seeing sights and stuff. Boondocking if we can is great.
Do you tent camp?
I loved tent camping, and I tent camped with our whole family, a family of 8. We had 6 kids, and we tent camped all the time. But then I got older, and I just couldn't sleep on the ground anymore. And if I'm videoed, whatever, you can see I can deflate an inflatable mattress in a matter of minutes. So it's pretty easy. So we had to get a pop-up, and we enjoyed a pop-up for a long time. But now with boondocking and stuff like that, we got a very small camper, but one that has shower and restroom in it and stuff, so that we can be out in the wilderness if we want to, or where there are no other facilities. So that's kind of nice.
Very cool. What's the most interesting place you've traveled?
Yeah. I would say here in the United States, it was a surprise, but I would say the most interesting place that I was at was Teddy Roosevelt National Park, which is a national park nobody really thinks about or even maybe knows about, but it was just spectacular to look at, very similar to the awe-inspiring of the Grand Canyon, which we camped at also. But the thing about Teddy Roosevelt is you not only look at it and go, oh, wow, but then you can get in your car and you can drive in it, over it, through it, buffalo outside your window and bighorn sheep and stuff that you can see. It's just, you get to be more of a part of it. Grand Canyon was spectacular, but pretty much walk up to the edge and you go, ooh, isn't that pretty? And then you drive somewhere else, you get to the edge and you go, isn't that pretty? And it is. Nothing against the Grand Canyon, it's spectacular, but you get to experience Teddy Roosevelt, where you get to be a part of it.
Where's it located?
It's in North Dakota.
North Dakota. Okay.
Yeah. And I would say Ireland probably is Ireland be another place that I thought was just fascinating.
Kind of on my bucket list.
Yeah, you can do it this time of year fairly inexpensively.
We'll check that out.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it offline later. I'm your travel guy. He can tell you. When it comes to traveling,
That is, if you ever need a second job or you have it made for the travel, you give great advice and insight. Yep.
All right. What's your favorite meal?
Breakfast. I love breakfast, and I'll eat it any time of day. Similarly, I was asked one time, if you only had one kind of food, and probably soup. I think soup's probably my favorite thing to make, and as far as one item, which you don't have soup for breakfast, but
you could.
But I like going to the refrigerator, seeing what there is, and just seeing what can I make, and typically just grab all sorts of leftovers and make a nice big pot of soup.
Very cool. When you were a kid, what was the first career you dreamed of having?
Oh, yeah. I think that I think the first career I probably dreamt about was being a secret agent. But I can tell you that I love this show called The Rat Patrol, and it's a really stupid show. It's these two Jeeps full of people flying over in World War II and firing 50 caliber bullets at tanks and making them explode for some reason or other. Who knows why, but I was always so fascinated with that. And then later, when I was activated with the Coast Guard and we were doing Homeland Security down at the Port of Texas, and I was the coxswain of a boat, and we were crashing over these waves and wakes, and on the bow, here's one of our shipmates manning a 30 caliber up there, and I'm like, this is Rat Patrol, I've done it, I've achieved it, I'm here. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Tell us something interesting about yourself that most people don't know.
I am a billionaire. I am a billionaire, and I just to show you in here, I have a $1 billion note from Zimbabwe. So I took all the savings that I make, all the extra money that I make working for the state, and became a Zimbabwe billionaire. So there you go, real currency, not
all right.
money.
That's cool.
There you go. You people know that about me, that I am a billionaire.
Would you rather watch a movie or read a book?
I'd much rather read a book. There's some great books out there that I love, but reading doesn't come easy for me, and it's kind of work. And my wife would rather watch movies, and I love my wife, so, so we all sit on front of the couch and watch a movie. But yeah, I don't read. I'm not well read, but I love to read.
What's your favorite book?
Right now, I would say The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Through a Window and Disappeared. A magnificent book that is hilarious and edge of your seat exciting, and yet it's also historical fiction. And usually when they try and hit multiple genres, they usually fail at one or the other. This one nails all three of them beautifully. And it's a magnificent book.
Have you ever had any nicknames?
None that I'd want to repeat.
If you could instantly become an expert in anything, what would it be?
Oh, I would want to be an expert in Christianity in Ethiopia, because that's a form of Christianity that sort of developed apart from everything else. And, for me to do that, I would have to learn the Ethiopian language. I would have to somehow get involved in their whatever it would. At my age, I'd be 150 by the time but if I could instantly be in, that would be so cool to see how it all developed from one apostle witnessing to a eunuch, That'd be so cool.
Do you have a go-to TV show?
Yes.
What is it?
We're kind of binge watching a show called Leverage right now. A few people have heard of it. It's kind of Robin Hood meets Ocean's 11. It's this group of people who it's like they've got a thief, they've got someone who's good at punching and disarming people, they've got a computer hacker, and then they've got a what do you call it when they run a con artist and a con artist. And what they do is when someone is being ripped off by a big corporation or by some government or whatever, they kind of come on in and they essentially steal the stuff back for the poor little citizen that can't do it. It's fun. I mean, it's 45 minutes, so it's kind of like the old Mission Impossible, where they would overthrow an entire government in 45 minutes. So it's kind of like you can't take it real seriously, but it's just a fun show to watch. Yeah,
I might have to check that one out.
Yeah, it's I think Freevee has it.
Okay. What's your favorite genre of music?
Very good. African contemporary. I really like it. Habib Kyote, probably one of my favorite artists, and I've just never heard anything that Habib hasn't played, sung, that I didn't just love. But I really like the different rhythms. I like the guitar, the drums, Yeah.
Awesome. Any final advice you would have for someone starting out their career?
Yeah, I think that's probably where I wanted to say, find something. Seriously, find something that you like and pursue it. Even if it's a I don't know, French poetry or something like that. Pursue it. There's a job out there that you're going to find, and you're going to be happy doing it, even if you're not going to be making millions doing it.
Finding something that you love to do is great advice.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, Chuck, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really fun to get to know you and learn about your career with the state of Nebraska. For our listeners, if you want to check out our great career opportunities, including those with the Nebraska Department of Natural Resources, go to statejobs.nebraska.gov and click on Find a State Job. While you're there, you can also find links to our Nebraska State Jobs social media, including Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. We'd love to have you follow us to learn even more about our great careers. There's also a lot of great content on the Nebraska Department of Administrative Services YouTube channel, including this podcast. So make sure to search for us there and hit the subscribe button so you're notified when future podcast episodes drop. On behalf of our guest, Chuck, my co-host, Brian, and myself, Caitlin, I want to thank you for tuning in and learning more about the great careers here in the Good Life.